I have a confession to make. I've been enjoying some parts of FC26, specifically this guy. Like, I've been enjoying him specifically. So I played the Silver Warm-Up Exhibition recently, and it was genuinely enjoyable. In fact, it was the most enjoyment that I've had in any FC or FIFA in a very long time. There was very little pressure, there was no entry limit, and you got small rewards after completing the objectives. Plus, I got to use this guy, and he carried me. He's basically the Korean R9. Here's the problem, though. Once I completed those objectives, ones that were pretty easy, I might add, there was no reason to keep playing it. Now, this took me probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to get my 4 wins out of 5 matches, but then suddenly, the fun was completely over. Now, this wouldn't bother me so much if there was a correct balance inside of Ultimate Team, but at the moment, Ultimate Team is completely dominated by time-gated game modes. Now, time-gated game modes are modes that are only available for a specific amount of time, or modes that force you to wait for the rewards that you've earned. This means while some game modes are inherently competitive, others will become competitive because of these time gates, and I'm already sure that you can name a few of these game modes like Champs and Division Rivals. Now, these are obviously the 2 main game modes in FC, and they have been for a very long time. Certain game modes will rise and fall, but those 2 are eternal. Like, they've lasted twice as long as the War of 1812, or nearly 83,000 times longer than the Anglo-Zanzibar War. There's your fun fact for the day. But as I said before, there's a few different ways that time gating can occur, but it seems like the most obvious way happens in Champs. Champs is only available on the weekends, ergo, Champs are time gated by only being playable during a specific time period. In fact, it's only time gated in this specific way and not the alternative, which would be by forcing you to wait for your rewards, because once you complete your Champs matches, you immediately receive what you've earned. Now, even though time-gated game modes can be a huge problem, that's why we're talking about them in the first place, this specific example isn't really a big issue. We all know exactly when Champs starts and when it ends. We know that it happens on the weekend when people are more likely available to be playing, and we know what our rewards will be depending on what rank we get. With all of that in mind, plus the fact that Champs is supposed to be the ultra competitive mode, having it be time gated is actually okay in of itself. The issue is what's around it, like Division Rivals. Now, Division Rivals is the other form of time gating, one in the fact that your rewards get capped after a certain amount of matches, but the other is the time in which you receive them. Basically, after you earn those rewards, there's no reason left to play Division Rivals. You can't get improved rewards strictly by playing more, and you have to wait a week to get them, all while resetting your progress towards said rewards. Now, on one hand, as we all know, life can get hectic, and sometimes you just aren't able to play as much as you normally would during the week. You could be 1 win away from getting rewards, but suddenly, something comes up and you miss out because it doesn't save your progress. On the other hand, it's also harder to grind because if someone does have a week where they have significantly more free time, they can't play it repeatedly to get rewards, as it gets capped after a certain amount. Now, when Division Rivals was first introduced in FIFA 19, it was somehow in a much worse state than it is now, because your rewards would be affected by how much you play and how much others would play. Seriously, what the f was that about? I'm still upset thinking about that. But while it's a better system now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. The system before FIFA 19, Online Seasons, was a much better grind, one that was not time-gated. You could play however much you wanted, it would save your progress, and you'd get your rewards immediately after finishing a season. No waiting for the week to finish to continue your grind, and no getting your point total reset if you have a busy week. You can just play. Now, like I said, these are the 2 game modes that everyone plays, but there seems to be some confusion around them because Champs is supposed to be the ultra competitive mode. In fact, that's why it worked back in FIFA 17 and 18, but at the moment, like I said, there's some confusion because now Division Rivals is starting to overtake it as the main competitive mode. Now, 2 game modes fighting to be the ultimate competition is not good in any situation, but it's made worse by the fact that there's no casual game mode to help balance it. With gauntlets and tournaments introduced, one of them had to be that casual mode, and it is certainly not gauntlets. I mean, just look at the second gauntlet that was released. You have 2 attempts per day, and it's out for 4 days, meaning you have 8 attempts to achieve a perfect round, and 24 matches to get 12 wins. Now, even though you're using new players and new squads every few rounds, this is obviously a more competitive environment because it's time gating while setting a limit on how many entries you get. The thing is, this actually makes sense, and it's similar to Champs in this regard. There are certain rewards and game modes that should be aimed towards the competitive environment, which also means that time gating does have a place and time. Gauntlets is not the ideal game mode to set up a casual grind system, and it also just defeats the purpose of Gauntlets in general if you could do it whenever you want, meaning having it be time gated makes sense. Along with this, based on the rewards that you can get, with some of them being achievable just by playing, I don't mind having it be out for a short period of time. The only issue was having a set number of attempts per day. That was annoying and that needs to change. That leaves tournaments as the only game mode that can realistically have a non-time gated system, one that allows users to play the game whenever they want, try out new tactics and players, and experience a more casual environment while earning small rewards when everything else is geared towards competitive matches. But that's obviously not what's happening because, again, why else would we be talking about this? The way tournaments are currently set up do not make them easily grindable or casual for a few reasons. One, they have entry limits, meaning if you run out of attempts, you are not able to try again. Now, I'm okay with this if there was a special tournament that gave double rewards, or if there was like a special card like there was back in FIFA 17 and 18 for special cards, like Foot Birthday or Team of the Season, for example, but this should not be the case in general. The other issue is that tournaments come and go without a consistent schedule. If they show up and you're busy that week, EA does not care. You could potentially be limited in 2 different ways, both of them related to time gating. It could be limiting because of the entry limit, but it's more likely that the second reason, being time gated by when it's released and when it ends, is what will get you in the end, and this combination severely hinders the casual environment, the grind, and the overall fun of Ultimate Team. Imagine a tournament that doesn't have entry limits and that doesn't expire. You could play all of the games that you want, you could earn an untradeable gold pack or a premium gold pack, for example, and you could earn that said reward immediately. You don't have to wait for your attempts to refresh, you don't have to wait for your rewards, you can just play. At the moment, there is nothing, literally nothing in Ultimate Team that is open 24/7 that you can grind. Now, I mentioned at the start of the video that playing the Silver Warm-Up Exhibition was sincerely enjoyable, more enjoyable than anything I've done in this game for a very long time. Small rewards just for playing and winning, no entry limit, open for literally weeks. I mean, it was pure vibes. If this was repeatable, gave similar rewards, and allowed gold evos to be upgraded, I'd have been playing that non-stop, and that's what bothers me so much. This type of setup is clearly possible, not just because it's been in the game before from a few years ago, but also because we finally have tournaments back. The perfect game mode for this non-time gated, fully grindable, casual system. You don't even have to get rid of competitive tournaments either. In fact, you can even add soft time-gated tournaments every now and again in order to help people upgrade their teams, no matter how much they play. The point of a soft time-gated system will be to incentivize the very first tournament win, and then each reward system after that will be slightly less, but still enough to incentivize the hardcore grinders. So that means that those who don't really grind that much will still get the quote-unquote best rewards after winning their first tournament, but those who do want to continue that grind will still get rewarded for each subsequent tournament win. And again, do not have tournament entries, that's the main thing. Now this could be similar to Call of Duty's Double XP Weekend, or releasing something during a major promo like Team of the Year or Team of the Season. The point is that with all of these time-gated game modes in Ultimate Team, there needs to be something that incentivizes hardcore grinders and casual players to play, and tournaments seem to be the answer. So please EA, put in a tournament that is open 24/7 with no entry limits, giving us something to both grind and also just casually play, because I need more of this man in my life. Like I need him.